Anyway, you've got games on this weekend. Multitude of great high-quality games on Saturday and Sunday here on Off the Ball.
Absolutely, Ger. 1 o'clock tomorrow, RDS. Leinster to lose.
Not the strongest Leinster team you've ever seen.
No. In fact, if there was ever a time to come to Dublin and beat Leinster in a crucial Champions Cup game, this, you would imagine, is the time for it to lose. No Devin Toner, no Sean O'Brien, no Johnny Sexton, no Rob Kearney, no James Lowe, no Robbie Henshaw.
Yeah.
I know they've got depth. Has it got that much depth?
No, they don't have this much depth. This will be the biggest and most important victory that Leinster have had in the European Cup in one of these group stage matches. Obviously, knockout stages are obviously more important, but like if they manage to do this, because they've no depth really on the bench in terms of what you would have expected early in the season. Jameson Gibson Park, Noel Reid and Conor O'Brien are the backs on the bench, and the backs are Luke McGrath, Ross Byrne, Rory O'Loughlin, Gary Ringrose, Adam Byrne and Dave Kearney in the wings, and Jordan Larmour is at fullback. So Toulouse are 10-point underdogs for that game, which I think is a bit ridiculous.
Well, you look at Toulouse's starting team and the strength that they have, and you would think with Leinster missing so many players, they should come here, and certainly the spread shouldn't be 10 points. But listening to Stephen Ferris on Wednesday Night Rugby talking about a very strong Toulouse team going to Ulster, and everyone expected all the big guns out, and they just were blown away. That just didn't perform. That once things didn't go their way, they sort of just shut up shop, packed their bags, went home.
Yeah.
If Leinster can start well tomorrow, because I think both these teams are going to qualify for the knockout stages either way.
Yeah.
This is basically who goes through as group winners and probably as top seeds into the quarterfinals, which is obviously absolutely crucial in the Champions Cup. But
Toulouse are on a roll, though. I don't think they're going to. I don't think.
No. But
I think they can be 21 points down.
There's also the big chance if you're.
They're not going to roll up.
If you're Ross Byrne, like this is probably your one chance when it comes to a World Cup squad. This is your one opportunity.
Well,
where you can say in an absolutely vital game.
Do you think there's going to be a lot of Johnny Sexton playing for Leinster for the rest of the year? I'm not sure.
But he will play all the crucial games. He'll play the knockout stage games in the Champions Cup.
Well, I think I'd say that the minutes that they're going to manage, I don't know.
I think they will. Like, he may not play Pro 14 again, but I think Champions Cup quarter-final, semi-final, final.
I wouldn't be terribly surprised if there's a game in the Six Nations that he doesn't play. I would not be terribly surprised.
But Joey Carberry will get the start.
Fit. Well,
so Ross Byrne, you want to be the third out half.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think that there's probably a chance that Ross Byrne gets some significant Ireland action over the course of the Six Nations because they want to see him and they want to see what he can do. Anyway, we were actually here to preview the soccer at the weekend, so that's one of the games you have on Saturday.
Ulster Racing, Andy Dunn and Oisin Langan at that, 3:15.
Kingspan Ravenhill.
Kingspan Ravenhill.
There you go, we got the name right.
Love Kingspan, and all they do.
Tastes lovely.
What do they do? Build houses? Building equipment?
Yeah, roofs.
They never said us in any free stuff, that's for sure.
Roofs and stuff. Slates. Not slates, the insulation.
Okay, great. Delighted for them. So that's at 3:15.
We have a quiz on Snapchat called the Snappy Quiz. It's a version of the Crappy Quiz, and Kev Caban was asked to name 10 sponsors from the current Premier League. Couldn't name any. 0 out of 10. 0 in 10 seconds.
Wow.
Can you name any sponsors?
Oh, now that you...
yeah, okay. Jersey sponsorship doesn't work.
AIG?
Radio sponsorship, definitely radio. Internet.
Who sponsors Manchester United? AIG?
No, Chevy.
Oh, yeah.
Chevrolet.
Sport Pesa. Don't know what they do. I can imagine what they do.
Yeah.
Sponsor Everton.
Yeah.
Standard Chartered.
Liverpool.
Sponsor Liverpool.
Yeah.
I'm going to say...
Yeah.
Emirates, Etihad.
Etihad, they're the ones. That's you get into a row and you get Emirates and Etihad. Yeah, okay, so you did 5. That would have won it.
Who sponsors Chelsea? Samsung? Don't know.
No, Yokohama Tires.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Big in Japan.
The only reason I know that is because Ewan McKenna went, why are Yokohama Tires buying... who in England is buying Yokohama Tires? That's I was like, they sponsor Chelsea now, I know that. Mm-hmm. That's how advertising works. Someone gives out about it and you're like, yay, our brand is now...
So you're saying that jersey sponsorship is a overly inflated market?
Well, Kev, who goes to lots of games and watches lots of football...
But come on. He's watching the football. He's not the most observant.
Oh, wow.
In the world, ever.
Wow.
Just saying.
Shots fired, he's not even here.
Well, he's going to be there on Sunday.
Great.
Goodison Park, Everton-Bournemouth.
Not the worst segue you've ever had.
That's our first game, Everton-Bournemouth.
Yeah.
2 teams level on points. Sort of not wanting to be meeting in the middle. Everton will feel they're underachieving. Bournemouth probably quite happy, but you feel it could just sort of fall away as the season goes on.
You had a good line.
Callum Wilson.
You had a good line on the Keith Andrews show, or was it on the football show last night about Silva being the Portuguese Alan Pardew?
Yeah, he is. He's a little bit flash. He's a little bit slick. But is there any real substance underneath? Like, what has he actually done aside from initially coming into a club, having a 2-month spell where there's a boost? People think, oh, this guy's going to kick on. He's going to bring us to another level. Then it just falls away. Like, they've been an absolute mess for the last 5 or 6 weeks. The defeat at home against Spurs was humiliating, utter humiliation. Like, they fell apart. They had no game plan to counter Tottenham. Like, they played right into their hands. They stood up on the halfway line. They let Spurs get in behind time and time again. There doesn't seem to be any sort of defensive setup. But Keith and Kev touched on it last night that they feel they're set pieces, that they don't know how to defend set pieces. They're not set up well there. And I just don't see any real sign of improvement, even though they have better players. I was never fully convinced by the front four anyways. They're all a little bit flaky. Like, Richarlison has done well and Sigurdsson having a good season. But I still wouldn't trust Walcott or Bernard. Andre Gomez is class. But
okay, that's the early kick-off at Goodison. After that, at 4:30 at Wembley, it's Tottenham Hotspur against Manchester United, which is, I would make the case, one of the most eagerly anticipated Man United games in a long, since Ferguson, really. Like, everybody thinks something magical might be possible. They're against a team who are actually really good, but who Man United still think, lads, it's Tottenham. And who might have a little bit of that in them still. A little bit.
For a game like this, I'm not sure they have it. They admitted that maybe in that game against Wolves that they got ahead of themselves. They thought that these games came easily, and obviously they found themselves getting beaten. But I think against United at home, you're right. Like, if United were to go to Wembley on Sunday and win this game, suddenly
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is getting the job. They're contenders for the Champions League, and all bets are off.
I wouldn't quite go that far, but
it's close enough. Like, that's the
response will be somewhat hysterical. They will lose the run of themselves completely.
Good chance they get beaten 3-1 here, right?
Yeah, Tottenham have a brilliant record at home against them recently, taking them apart. Last season, remember Christian Eriksen got that goal after 10 seconds to put Spurs in front, beat them 2-0 at Wembley. I just think Spurs are a far, far better team than Manchester United, and the sort of team that United can't cope with at the moment, who have brilliant movement up front, just so much speed, so much pace, can just bamboozle them, confuse them, and can rip them to shreds quite easily.
Who will play for Spurs at the back, and who will play for Manchester United at the front?
Well, I guess the main talking point will be, does Lukaku play? It's hard to see it, because you'd imagine at home Spurs are going to have the vast majority of the ball. So you're looking at Rashford and his pace and try and get him in behind the Tottenham defence. Put him on the shoulder of Davinson Sanchez, who's not slow, but try and get him between the two centre halves. Play Martial on the left, and then maybe play Lingard in there as well. I always like Lingard in these sort of games. Gets himself involved, can drop deep, doesn't sort of end up as this peripheral figure in the bigger games. Knows how to get himself into them, whereas a lot of the United attackers don't. I don't think you start Alexis Sanchez in a game like this.
No.
In fact, I don't know if you ever start Alexis Sanchez again.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if that little rest that he's had, where he just didn't try a leg for 6 months, is going to revitalise him in the second part of the season.
But is that not the question mark? Was it that he didn't try a leg for the last 6 months and also didn't try a leg for a year at Arsenal?
Or is he spent?
Is he just gone?
Maybe.
And it wouldn't be a surprise if he's gone, because he's one of these players who's been playing first team football since he was 16 or 17 and went through this ridiculous spell from about 2013 to 2017 where he's playing major tournament every summer. Chile are winning the Copa America. He's playing every single match. I remember covering an Arsenal game and looking at his stats once for the previous 2 years, and I think he had played something like 145 games in 2 years.
He's just turned 30 though, so it's not like, and he hasn't been.
But his game was always like, he's obviously technically such a talented player.
Yeah,
but his game was also built on his energy.
So Spurs and Manchester United kicks off at 4:30. It's live on a specially extended Off the Ball on Sunday for you here on Newstalk. Who's on commentary duty?
Myself and Brian Kerr.
Okay, very good.
I made the mistake first time I went to Wembley. I was with Brian Kerr. It was my first time ever at Wembley, which is still a stunning stadium. It's a sensational stadium. Even if the actual stadium there doesn't have the history, it's still something a bit special going to Wembley. I made the mistake of asking Brian Kerr, have you been to Wembley often? Yeah, I remember the 66 World Cup final being here for that.
Oh, wow.
Had been to pretty much, I think he'd been to about 15 games during the 66 World Cup.
Wow.
Was only a kid, went over to his brother in London, went to all the matches,
Class.
including the World Cup final.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. You were jealous?
Very.
Ah, right, okay. Well, that's a great story. We should get him to tell the details of it in some more detail sometime. Anyway, Alexis Sanchez won't start, so let's not talk about him anymore. From a Spurs perspective, do they have the team shape at the moment to deal with the current Manchester United team if they play to the potential that they're beginning to show under Solskjaer?
Yeah, but I think the potential has been against very weak opposition. I watched the game against Newcastle where he made the substitutes, they made the impact, but at the back they were all over the shop in the first half. Yeah. Phil Jones again just looks like a player. Doesn't look like a player with a huge amount of talent at the moment, but looks like a player with zero confidence. Newcastle got at him every time. Down the wings, they were able to get in behind. And Newcastle don't score goals. They don't have a striker. If they had, they would have won that game. They were a better team than United, probably for an hour, but just couldn't take their chances. If Spurs create half those opportunities, they're going to batter them. And I think the front four for Spurs are probably playing as well as they ever have. Like the way they've kicked on over the last month, every one of them is just absolutely firing on all cylinders. Like Eriksen, having gone probably 18 games, was it, without scoring in the Premier League at the start of the season, seems to be scoring. All of them seems to be contributing a goal or an assist in every match.
It's too late for them from Spurs' perspective? Or
they're only 6 points behind. It's whether they can overhaul both City and Liverpool. The feeling seems to be if Liverpool slip up, part of the reason is City will go on this sensational run.
Yeah. So they've got to win this game, though, if there is any hope of that happening.
They do, and they've gone on over the last. Remember, they've contended almost consistently for the last 3 years, Spurs, and they've gone on runs, but they need to go on that sort of 11, 12 game winning streak that puts you right there. That doesn't mean you're always chasing. That means you're actually genuine contenders come the end of March. But they need to go on that sort of run. They've almost got there. Still haven't drawn a game. They're just losing. They lost 5 games already. It's a bit ridiculous that they're only 6 points behind because they've won every other match. But I feel they need to win probably 10 games in a row, which is what you need to do if you want to win a league.
Yeah.
The one area you look at Spurs still is the middle of midfield. He seems to be getting away with it.
Well,
seems to have a good variation, and he can throw Winks in there, can throw 4 or 5 different players. I'm very surprised they let Moussa Dembele go.
Well, it's clearly just a business decision where they're taking 10, 12 million in cash for something that will be worthless in 10, 5 months.
Yeah, maybe he just never had the energy that Pochettino wanted in the middle. Like he's thrown Oliver Skipp, an 18-year-old, in there as well, ahead of Dembele. He's had his injury problems. If Eric Dyer comes back, it's the one area that they look a good bit weaker than both Liverpool and Manchester City. But it doesn't seem to be impacting them in any way.
All right, give me a prediction for what's going to happen.
I think Spurs will win 3-4-1.
Oh yeah, so a hammering.
I think it'll be quite convincing. I think Spurs are just so good right now.
But
at home.
It does feel like that. I think, in retrospect, I can see this being a 3-2 or a 4-2 or like a game where Man United create other chances. Like if Pogba plays to Pogba's potential, which he appears to be on the verge of doing, these are the big games where players like him show up and enjoy. And him and Martial and Rashford is like one of the most exciting trios in terms of an attacking force.
Well, maybe that is the one area for United, is that if Spurs aren't as strong in the middle of midfield, Pogba can exploit that. I just go back to that Newcastle game. I was buying in a little bit to Solskjaer and this revival and what he's brought to them.
All right.
But no.